Hey, welcome to this session of Life Groups. We're excited for it. We're doing it a little bit different this time around, doing sermon-based life groups off of the current series that we're starting in today, and we'll take that through February, and then we'll go back to Joshua in March and April. We just want to say welcome, and we want to say thank you to the host home that whose ever living room that you're sitting in right now. Thank you, host home. As we get started in this session of life groups, just a couple things to help us out. Try to keep your time together to 2 hours. We don't want to wear out your welcome at the home that you're at. Secondly, if you could help bring refreshments, that would be a huge help. And then as well, just confidentiality. What stays with what's shared within your group, let it stay within your group. Honor each other with that. And then finally, man, just be looking for opportunity to do some type of an outreach project to share the love of Christ with our community. Those are a few ground rules, but let's dive in to what we're going to be talking about. Today you heard the first message of 4 that will be based on the theme of the theme of the year, Be the Church. Really excited about this theme. It's very practical. It's something that you and I will have the opportunity to live out every day. It's just not when we come to church that we're the church. It's who we are. It's our identity. And so as we talked this morning, and if you weren't with us, we're going to take the 7 churches that are found in the book of Revelations in chapter 2 and through chapter 3, and Jesus's letter to those 7 churches. And we're going to talk about what Jesus commends them for and what he's concerned about. And so really, we're going to slow it down and just take a few weeks and walk through these churches, looking at these churches and inspect them. As Jesus inspects them, it's like Jesus takes his magnifying glass and he gets down nitty gritty into some of the DNA of the church and what's going on there. And like I said, he commends them. And there's traits that we want to emulate. There's traits that we find within each of these churches that are exciting and worth having. And then there's traits that, we need to look at and say, hey, is any of this within our own lives? Is any of this within the life of the body that we're a part of? And be honest and be sincere in that. But then also, we want to have the traits that our community needs us to have. The community of Valley Center and the Wichita area. We want to be a church that is engaged, and we want to be a church that represents Christ well. And so that's how we're going to go about the next few weeks as we have this life group. These life groups these life groups based on the series that we're currently in. So this morning we talked about the Church of Ephesus. The Church of Ephesus is commended for several things that they did. They were a persevering church. They were a church that worked extremely hard. They were a church that stood against false teaching that was infiltrating the community of believers there, and they stood firm in that. But then there was also the issue that Jesus corrected them on and was concerned about. And so this afternoon or this evening, as your life group gets together and talks about the Church of Ephesus and the letter and the encounter that they had with Jesus in this letter, Jesus takes his magnifying glass and he's searching the depths of their love towards him, and he addresses that in this portion of Revelations chapter 2, and as he's searching, he's asking really the question of dependency. Are you dependent upon Christ? He's asking a question of, are you in love with Christ? It's an interesting concern Jesus has, because he's commending them for, their labor and their perseverance and things that we hold in high esteem, but yet they're not dependent upon him. They're not in love with him. They're kind of this. It's not, Jesus doesn't want us to have a commitment for commitment's sake. He wants us to have a commitment for love's sake. A lady that I was privileged to know, the privilege of pastoring, her name was Virginia. Virginia was 92 years old when she passed away. She was a lady that just pulsated with the love for Christ. I mean, she would talk about Jesus whenever you got together. When she was 72 years old, she went on her first missions trip. When she was 74, she went again. And she just wanted people to know Jesus, and she wanted to share Jesus. And she would always tell me, Pastor, I'm getting older now. I can't do much, but one thing I can do is pray. And she just loved to be in communion with Jesus. And I had the privilege of doing her funeral. And when I opened up her Bible, because that's what I like to do, I like to get a hold of people's Bible just because I feel like I can get to know them a little bit better if I'm privileged to do their funeral. And I was flipping through it, and literally pages were falling out of that Bible. And I can remember thinking, she wore this Bible out. But then literally, she wore that Bible out by taking it out to people, because her love of Jesus was so a part of who she was. It just flowed out of her. And so, in Mark chapter 12, Jesus says this: love God with all your heart, with all your mind, with all your soul, and with all your strength. You love God with all your heart. You love God with all your mind. You love God with all your soul. You love God with all your strength. It's us as an individual doing that. When we do that as an individual, it will set the stage for us as a whole. And then he says all. 4 times he says the word all. With all that you have. What would heaven be if we went there and it was just this beautiful place, perfect place, but Jesus wasn't there? I mean, something would be missing, wouldn't it? And so as we walk through this, and as you walk through your discussion questions today, I just want to encourage you to look at our own heart, and may the love of Christ pulsate as we leave. As I leave this time with you, as you prepare to have some discussion, I just want to read a passage of scripture from Psalm 63, and I pray that this cry, the cry of David, would be the cry of our heart and our love for God. David says this: "O God, you are my God, earnestly I seek you. My soul thirsts for you, my body longs for you in a dry and weary land where there is no water. I have seen you in the sanctuary and beheld your power and your glory. Because your love is better than life, my lips will glorify you. I will praise you as long as I live, and in your name I will lift up my hands. My soul will be satisfied as with the richest of foods. With singing lips my mouth will praise you. On my bed I remember you, and I think of you through the watches of the night, because you are my help. I sing in the shadow of your wings. My soul clings to you. Your right hand upholds me." As you guys talk about this subject today of being a church with a heart, being a church that is passionately in love with Jesus, I pray God's presence would be there in your midst. And then I pray as well that we would live this love and that we would be his church.